Hello, everyone. I hope you're all doing well. And today I'm really excited because we're here with a new topic to discuss, which is cryptocurrency. Everyone's talking about it. I'm really excited about it. And I've been looking into and I've invested in crypto myself. So today we and Kṣaṇāti, we're going to be discussing about crypto and charts of Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Hex. Welcome, Kṣaṇāti.
Namaste, Navjeet. It's so good to be here with you to discuss this very exciting topic. I am personally a big believer in not just the investment of cryptocurrency, but I think of cryptocurrency as a movement for society, an evolution of consciousness that's kind of taking us away from a dependency on fiat traditional paper money, which is commonly printed and has high inflation. For those of you that don't really understand what cryptocurrency exactly is, cryptocurrency is a digital asset that runs on the blockchain being a technology. And basically, there's a certain amount of supply of the various coins. And based on that supply, there is a value attributed to that coin. And you can invest in that coin by putting in paper money, through your credit card or debit card, and then you can make a transfer for any of the coins. There's thousands, tens of thousands of coins out there. And so for those of you that are new to cryptocurrency and you're not sure, well, what's the first coin to invest in? You have to be really careful with it. The most common and popular coin that we know today, the original cryptocurrency, is Bitcoin. That is the father of cryptocurrency. And then close in second place is Ethereum, which is a great system that allows people to build on the Ethereum network and create other coins. There's lots of other coins out there. My favorite coin of all of the coins is called Hex cryptocurrency, invented by a great humanitarian, Richard Hart. This is a certificate of deposit cryptocurrency where you invest in a certain amount of Hex, and then you do what's called staking, where you put it away for a certain period of time and gain interest on it. And Hex has been giving people upwards of 14% annual interest a year paid out in Hex. So it's a great long-term investment. You can put it away for up to 15 years for well over 200% interest. So I think we should start today with the chant to a couple different planets, which kind of invoke the energy of cryptocurrency. One is Venus and the other is Rahu. So we'll start with that chant, and then we'll look at the North and South Indian charts of Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Hex. And I'll also be discussing a new project that's going to be coming out in the next few months called PulseChain, which is an Ethereum fork. And we'll talk about that in further detail. That's the t-shirt I'm wearing. I'm a big PulseChain guy. So we'll start with the chanting and then we'll dive right into it. Himakunda manalabam daichanam paramam gurum sarva sastra pravaktaram Bhargavam pranamamyaham himakunda manalabam daichanam paramam gurum sarva sastra pravaktaram Bhargavam pranamamyaham himakunda manalabam daichanam paramam gurum sarva shastra pravaktaram Bhargavam pranamamyaham Om Dram Dream Dram Saha Shukraya Namaha 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 Om Ardakayam Mahaviryam Chandraditya Vimardhanam Simhita Garbha Sambutam Tamrahu Pranamam Yaham Ardakayam Mahaviryam Chandraditya Vimardanam Simhita Garbha Sambutam Tamrahu Pranamam Yaham. Ardakayam Mahaviryam Chandraditya Vimardinam Simhita Garbha Sambutam Tamrahu Pranamam Yaham. Om Brahm Brim Brahm Saha Rahave Namaha. 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 Hari Om. Om Namah Shivaya. Namaste. So cryptocurrency, basically there's a huge movement behind it. There's a lot of meaning behind it because for all of you who have had, 40-hour per week jobs your entire lifetime, a lot of jobs out there, they help you get by. And by help you get by, it means they help you pay for the food on your table. It helps you maybe get a decent education for your child. It maybe helps you get a decent car. But one of the things that we see about society is the richest people on this planet are a very small percentage of the total population at the top of the chain. And the middle class, as it's called, it's very difficult for them to kind of develop wealth, especially comparatively to that top 0.01 or 0.05%, which is the richest of the rich. And cryptocurrency is an opportunity for all people, whether you're in poverty, middle class, or somewhere in between, that if you can be patient and invest a little bit of money, that if you're patient enough and delay the gratification of selling early or delay the inclination towards selling in fear, that eventually you could be extremely profitable and successful and achieve what I call financial freedom or financial liberation, which I think everyone here on this planet deserves. No one needs to suffer to get by. And I know poverty is a huge world issue. And I think cryptocurrency is here to help challenge and eradicate that poverty mentality by understanding that each person out there, regardless of how much you invest, you have an opportunity to achieve financial freedom and not have to struggle to get by. So there's a lot of meaning behind it. Power to the proletariat is one of the things I like to say about cryptocurrency. So I have prepared a couple charts here. The first thing I wanted to discuss is how the market cap works in cryptocurrency. So when we're looking at market cap, that's the amount of money that the cap of the market has invested in it. So it's one of the ways that we understand the strength of a cryptocurrency. Now, market cap really doesn't have to do with strength like price does, but we understand that some of the top market cap cryptocurrencies are the ones that have the most money invested in it. So it's important to understand. Now, the top three here are the top three that I have prepared the analysis of today. Bitcoin, which is currently running at a $46,000 per share price and has an $871 billion market cap. That's almost $1 trillion. It's incredible. Ethereum, which is currently running at $3,241 a share and has a $379 billion market cap. And my personal favorite, Hex Crypto, which is running at 12.8 cents a share and has a $73.5 billion market cap. So these are the three cryptocurrencies that I'm going to be focusing on today. We'll start with the original founder and cryptocurrency that we know today, which is Bitcoin. So I have prepared the North and South Indian charts here to understand cryptocurrency, just to go over a little of the positions. The Cancer ascendancy or Cancer Lug Nesh for cryptocurrency. Bitcoin, which is currently in this ascendancy, is in Pusha Nakshatra. And then we also see Ketu, which is the South Lunar Node, which falls into Ashlesha Nakshatra. So we see a lot of wealth position shift kind of showing up here initially, right in the Dharma, right in the ascendant of Bitcoin. K2 representing that transformative element of Bitcoin, which is, listen, Bitcoin is here and it's here to transform how we perceive finances and our understanding of the economy. So there is this huge transformative energy which shows up with that K2 in Ashlesha Nakshatra and the Pusha Cancer ascendancy. Now that means that the chart is ruled by the moon, right? Because the Cancer ascendancy is ruled by the moon. So we find the moon in a very favorable position in Uttarabhadrapada Nakshatra in the 9th bhava, the house of fortune. So there's these wealth influences from the nakshatra positions of the ascendancy. And now we're seeing that moving over to the house of fortune and luck and benefit with its 9th house position. So this is a very significant energy that shows a lot of wealth inclinations in the chart of Bitcoin. And we'll work with the timing of it when we get to dashas and transits, because it's important to understand what we've kind of been experiencing as far as some of the fluctuations that happen in the ups and downs of cryptocurrency. People say that it's volatile because it can go up 50% in a 1 week and it can go down 80% in 1 week. And it's been known to happen at various times, especially in the history of Bitcoin and Ethereum. So we will want to look at those kind of fluctuations as we see it in the dasha. Another really strong signification, since cryptocurrency is very nodal, it's a very Rahu Ketu kind of energy because it's that innovation and that material prosperity which we most associate with Rahu. And so there's no doubt that we find a Rahu stellium here. So we have a Rahu stellium in Bitcoin's chart between Rahu, Jupiter, and Mercury. And this stellium is in the 7th bhava, the 7th house. So it's strongly aspecting the ascendancy as well. And we know that whenever Rahu is conjunct with other planets, that Rahu is going to travel over to the other houses that that planet rules. So we have Rahu with Jupiter. So the Pisces, Rahu joins the moon here in the 9th house, which is actually very favorable for the financial success. And then we also have Rahu going here in another Artabhava house where the Sun and Mars are, joining Rahu with Sun and Mars in the 6th bhava. So this is the working energy. One of the things that kind of separates certain cryptocurrencies from the others is, since the inception of cryptocurrency, you can mine for cryptocurrency, which means using a high-powered technology, including your graphics card and the processors on your computer. You can kind of use the power of your computer to kind of search these blocks where they can mine cryptocurrency. And I've seen that in cryptocurrency as a 6th house position, because that 6th house position is a work position. And when it comes to mining for cryptocurrency, it's really a job. You got to set up the different computers. Now, once you set it up, you can really have it going for you. One of the things that is why I like Hex and Pulse kind of compared to some of these other original cryptocurrencies, even though I honor them, is that the mining is really bad for the environment, because it takes a huge amount of power and it ends up creating a lot of toxic energy for our environment. And the founder of Hex, Richard Hart, he created his crypto system so that they don't really cause a negative effect on the environment. But regardless of the effect on the environment, mining is a profitable job for many people. We can see the Rahu hitting the Sun and the Mars position in the 6th house here, suggesting that it really is a job, and it can be a job to be a full-time cryptocurrency trader or miner. And if you were mining full blocks of Bitcoin back in its original inception, you're probably a millionaire today. So it's just something to consider. It's a little bit harder to get as many Bitcoins now because everyone's kind of competing for them, but still it can be very profitable depending on how much money you have to invest in a mining rig or mining system. And then also, due to the Rahu Mercury conjunction here, we're also seeing Rahu moving over to the 12th bhava. and Rahu moving over to the third bhava, Dusthana and Upachaya positions here. And that Dusthana position of Rahu, listen, that's part of the losses that come and the fear, uncertainty, and doubt, the FUD that comes when, okay, when Bitcoin starts to go down a little bit, everyone starts selling. Panic, panic, panic. And what you see is you see these huge swings and fluctuations, and that's part of that Rahu stellium being influenced to the 12th bhava here. And in addition to that, we're also seeing that Jupiter, even though it's in a conjunction with Rahu and Mercury here, it's in Capricorn, which means it's in its debilitation position. So actually, when I've looked at various Jupiter, like, you know, bookties in the chart, it's actually not particularly favorable for Bitcoin because of the debilitation condition of Jupiter. It does a little bit better during K2 periods as it's its ascendant. It does all right during moon periods, and it does well during Rahu periods. But I haven't really seen the Jupiter as being the most beneficial kind of transiting energy for Bitcoin. Now, I just want to take a look at the Bitcoin chart historically so we can understand it a little bit better. So if we're taking a look at the Bitcoin chart here, this is the history of Bitcoin. So if you're taking a look at Bitcoin, if you're looking, so I have its inception originally on January 3rd, 2009. And a lot of other astrologers agree with that. But this chart kind of starts when it was very little back in 2011. So we're seeing that, you know, in 2011, it was $3. So just imagine you put in $1,000 back here in 2011 when it was $3 a share, okay? In 2012, it's going up to 6. Towards 2013, it's now above 10. Now, from 2010, from 2012 December to 2013 April, it's now gone up $100. So that would mean that you're looking at pretty much a 10x increase in whatever you put in. So that $1,000 that you put in 2012 is now well over $12,000, $13,000 6 months later in 2013. And part of the energy when you understand these rapid gains, one of the strong planets in cryptocurrency that I like to focus on is Venus, and that Venus is in the 8th house here. Now, a lot of people do leverage trading where they have to go into debt. But this is a house of sudden gains and speculative gains and volatile gains. And I'll be honest, cryptocurrency can be volatile. And so that Venus in the 8th house, Venus has signification for the 8th house. It has the power to resurrect something back from the dead. It says this in the ancient text. When we're looking at a financial asset, that means even when it goes down a significant amount, guess what? Due to this position of Bitcoin, it's going to come back and go to new all-time highs and new all-time highs. So that's part of the energy of Bitcoin. And that's why when it's going down, if you really want to start, you know, you want to shave profits as you start to do really well, but never sell in fear, never sell in the red, because anyone who's held Bitcoin for more than 3 years has always ended up in a profitable position. So it's really about a patient game. Now, again, now we're seeing it by the end of 2013 being well over $500, and it kind of vacillated in this kind of up and down. So it goes through lulls, which are called bear markets in cryptocurrency, which means things are looking strong for a little while, but it's had such a hyper surge that, okay, it's got to go through a correction, and corrections are a healthy, natural part of the game. So it did. So if you're looking at that peak in 2013 of $800, it kind of took a little bit while for it to kind of get back up to that point in 2017. So there's that kind of period of kind of being patient with Bitcoin. And then guess what happened? The massive bull run started again. And then it goes from 841 all the way, and we're looking at that at the beginning of 2017. And by the end of 2017, $12,800. Is that insane? Going up from 500 to 12. Now, remember, if you went back and invested here in 2012, when Bitcoin was $3 to $6 a share, now it's up to $15,000 a share in the end of 2017. So in 6 years, you're looking at that kind of $10 to $15,000 kind of increase. So if you invested $100 because you were in a position of poverty or in a position of being poor back in 2011, now you're financially free and able to retire for the rest of your life. So it's Lakshmi. To me, this cryptocurrency is Lakshmi energy. It's a real beautiful, but when it hits this kind of peak, we now see that it's going to go back down again because it can't sustain that kind of indefinite longevity energy, especially when you look at the Bitcoin chart. We're seeing Saturn in the second house, Venus in the eighth house. It's going to go through fluctuations. So it went down from 15,000 all the way down to $3,000 from 2018 to 2019. It had a little pump back in 2019 and it goes back down. And then we got into the major bull run that we're in currently right now. So in April 2000, and it's gone down. It had a drop because these are natural things. It doesn't mean Bitcoin is crashing indefinitely. It doesn't mean Bitcoin that goes to zero, because we looked at from the positions of these charts that it's slow and steady gains with that Saturn retrograde in Leo in the second bhava. But we know with the eighth house position and the Rahu stellium, it's going to go through fluctuations. But that eighth house Venus, when it drops, it will eventually reach an all-time high again. The question is, how long are you willing to wait? So here in 2000, in March 2020, 7,000. April 2021, $57,000. Is that insane? And so obviously it had a little correction to 35,000. It actually went down to 28 and it was up to 61. So 61 to 28 was kind of the hit and the peak and the current floor, as they call it. And it's had a little bit of surge recently through July and August, down from 28,000 up to hitting 45,000 recently. So, so I just wanted to explain, if you could think of at any point in the history of Bitcoin, if you invested a good amount of money, you would have 2x, 3x, 5x, 10x. And if you get in a good valuable coin early on, your chance to experience wealth beyond your greatest dreams is even greater. And that's why at the end of this discussion, I'll be going over PulseChain, which I believe is the next Ethereum that people, you know, when it comes out, you invest $1,000, 2 years, 3 years down the line, you could be in the hundred thousands or millions of dollars. So that's, I wanted to discuss Bitcoin. It's not my favorite cryptocurrency, but we honor it as the original cryptocurrency that exposed the world to cryptocurrency. And it is here to stay. People, you know, I personally believe that at some point it will not be number one anymore. But based on the current dasha, it's currently running its Mercury dasha, and that Mercury position, it's strong with that Rahu Mercury conjunction. So I do think that it's going to do well throughout its Mercury dasha. I think as you start to get into the K2 dasha for Bitcoin, that it's going to kind of become, it's not going to totally go to zero. It's not going to disappear, but it's no longer going to be the top cryptocurrency. And we're looking at that in September 2034. And then it's Venus dasha in the eighth house. Maybe it has this power to resurrect and come back to the surface again from 2041 to 2061. My end point is that Bitcoin is here to stay. And we do want to honor it as kind of being that historical cryptocurrency that helped lead us. But is it the best coin to invest in just because it's the coin that's the most well-known? No, I really don't believe that. So I hope that was an interesting elaboration on Bitcoin, Nav.
Yeah, really interesting. Kṣaṇāti, so you said it's running its Mercury Mahadasha until 2034.
Yeah,
Then it goes in K2,
yeah.
and then it goes in Venus. So do you like, so in Venus, you see it coming back at the top, or no?
I actually think that once it leaves the top towards the end of Mercury Dasha, it'll
Yeah.
never come back to the top. But
Okay.
how I would kind of understand it is that as soon as it loses its top position,
Right.
everyone's going to lose faith in it. Because
Right.
Bitcoin was the top, now it's not the top, and everyone's going to sell all their Bitcoin and move to another cryptocurrencies
Mhm.
like
Yeah.
Hex. And
Right.
then they're going to go and then though it's going to lose, but it's going to go down so much during that period that eventually it's going to become a wonderful investment again.
Bitcoin is.
Yeah, when it goes down low enough after it loses its first place position.
Right. So that's what I was saying. I'm like, if it goes down and someone buys it when it goes really down, and if it comes back up, even though not in a top position, but something up.
Definitely.
Still a good investment at that level.
100%. And that's how I kind of see the Venus Dasha manifesting is its comeback.
Right. Okay, cool. Thank you.
My pleasure. This is so much fun.
It
So the next coin, which I wanted to discuss is number 2, which is Ethereum. Now, Ethereum is different from Bitcoin because it has a little bit more utility because other coins can be built on the Ethereum platform. That means that if you have another project idea, you can build it on the Ethereum network, and now you can transact through Ethereum for your coin and back to Ethereum. And it's provided a lot of people and a lot of good projects an opportunity to kind of get started in a new way and develop a kind of new form of cryptocurrency, even though it's through the Ethereum network. So it kind of carries a lot of other cryptocurrencies on its back, which is very valuable. I mean, even Hex was created on the Ethereum network. Although PulseChain is a new network by the founder of Hex that I think is going to eventually outdo Ethereum. But we'll get there. So we do have to honor Ethereum. And you're looking at an incredibly strong chart from the perspective of Ethereum. If you're taking a look at Ethereum's chart here, we're seeing a Jupiter-Venus conjunction only 3 degrees away of separation, both in Magha Nakshatra. We know that Magha Nakshatra is K2 ruled, and this is a very, very powerful ascendancy. And even the ascendant nakshatra is Magha. So when you're looking at Ethereum, it's a Magha vibration. And it has to do with kind of like that ancestral karma, which is like the transformation of consciousness. And we know Magha is the leader. And so it's like how there's a great king, but the son of that king ends up being an even greater leader than his greater leader than his father. That's like Ethereum and Bitcoin. And so you kind of have this strong leadership that's not only leading itself like Bitcoin is, because there's not other cryptocurrencies built on the Bitcoin network. There's like little forks, but there's not other cryptos outside of Bitcoin built on the crypto network unless they're Bitcoin related. But the Ethereum network has thousands and thousands and thousands of other cryptocurrencies that it's helping grow. And so it is kind of the vehicle for which crypto is expanding throughout the world. And Ethereum is really where it's at in terms of where things are right now. I think there are a lot of issues with Ethereum, which I'm going to mention. But first, let's take a look at the charting a little bit, just like we did with Bitcoin. So you can understand, well, if you invested in this at a certain time, look where you'd be right now.
Right.
So moving over to Ethereum.
Yeah.
Again, currently at $3,200 a share and a $379 billion market cap. Now, I have Ethereum starting back in July of 2015. So here we go at the initial listing here in August of 2015 at $1.20 per share. $1.20 per share for Ethereum. And then you can kind of see that it went through fluctuations under $1. And then it kind of went up in 2016 to $10. And you could have sold it then and made over 10 times what you originally invested in it. Or you could have held it, and guess what? And towards the end of 2016, it's kind of breaking past $10. And now we're kind of seeing it in 2017, 12, March, 35, April, 51, May, 127, and June 2027, $304. So again, in 2015, that's $1 or less per share. 2017, $304. So it's just a mere 304 times X on your initial investment. Pennies and nickels, right? So obviously we saw this when we looked at Bitcoin. When it hits a massive peak like this, there's going to be a little dip. This dip wasn't much though. It went down from 304 down to like just under 300 before it massively shot up again to $1,102 on January of 2018. Now then there was like a general bear market that kind of like, you know, everything in life has its ups and downs. And we kind of see that bear market kind of hit into the 2018. And so it did go down significantly. So hopefully you didn't invest all your money in 2018. Although if you did, you're fine now because you've still 3x that investment. And that's what I mean about crypto. Here's something that you want to understand. Okay, let's say you saw that Ethereum was doing fantastic in the early part of 2018 and you put $1,000 in it. Well, when it went to 600 in March, you're like, I don't want to lose all my money. I should sell it. Now, that's probably not the worst idea because it went back down to $200 in October. But let's say that when it went down to October, you're like, I've already lost so much money. I need to sell it. Now it's down to $100. I don't want to hold it anymore. And this was a long bear market for cryptocurrency from mid 2018 all the way until 2020, mid 2020. And then the current bear market started. And we saw Ethereum go up in the end of 2020 over $500, breaking its previous all high in the beginning of 2021 and hitting a massive peak as we got into April. It says 3,136. It actually went to $4,200. So again, right. May 2021, it was at $4,200. And guess what? In August 2015, in September, it was less than $1. So you would have made 4,200 times your initial investment. It's just incredible gains, right? And obviously there's a little dip and now it's gone back up. This is just the normal cycle of cryptocurrency. So now we're looking at the charts for Ethereum. We love that Rahu is in I like Rahu in Virgo in Uttar Palguni Nakshatra, and Rahu in the second bhava is really, really, really good for a cryptocurrency. Whenever we're looking for a strong Rahu position, but you'll see when we get to Hex has a way better Rahu position than Bitcoin or Ethereum. But we do like Rahu in the second house of wealth, K2 in the house of the sudden gains and the speculative investments. We like that energy there. And then that sixth house, mining for Ethereum, is also possible. So we do kind of see those sixth house positions when it comes to the mining system. And this is the house of Mars in investments. It's a lot of wealth positions here for Ethereum. When we're taking a look at the dashas for Ethereum, we're seeing that the Moon Mahadasha, it's currently running. It began during its Sun Mahadasha. Its Moon Mahadasha started in February 2019. But guess what? It did not really start to improve out of the bear market until guess what? Antardasha, Rahu. And
Wow.
during the Antar Dasha, so you'll see here, it entered its Antar Dasha right here in July of 2020 of Rahu. And within a few months of that Dasha, now it's hitting new all-time highs. Now that Rahu Antar Dasha, it does manifest as being a very favorable increasing energy. We usually see this, especially when Rahu is in a good position for a financial asset, that your investment is going to pay off. Now, while I don't really like Jupiter as much for Bitcoin, we see that the Jupiter has this 8th house of sudden gains. We also see that it's in the 9th house and it's conjunct with Venus. So I do like its position a little bit more, especially being in the ascendancy. And it's going into Jupiter Antar Dasha from January 2022 to May 2023. And I think that could be favorable for Ethereum. One of the things that, when I'm looking at Bitcoin's astrology chart versus Ethereum's astrology chart, is that I kind of see that people are saying that, okay, Bitcoin's going back up right now, Ethereum's going up right now. And that's true. But sometimes they call that a bull trap, which is, okay, we saw it go from 61,000 Bitcoin down to 28,000 Bitcoin. And now it's back up to almost 50,000. And people are like, it's going to 100,000. It's going to 100,000. But this exactly happened in 2017, where it kind of returned to that level of normalcy before pounding down and dropping 75%. So I do think you do want to have some concern for Bitcoin and a little bit for Ethereum based on their upcoming periods of their Dasha, with that Jupiter hitting the 8th house for Ethereum in January. And you're also seeing that Bitcoin is going through it's in a Mercury Venus, with that Venus in the 8th house. And then it's going to go through a Mars period around the same time. And I mean, it could be fine, but I'm just concerned about this kind of bull trap kind of energy. And that's why I'm going to be discussing another coin, which, listen, I honor Bitcoin, I honor Ethereum. They help bring cryptocurrency to the surface. They're allowed all these other tokens, Ethereum especially, to come in. But one of the things that we have noticed as an issue with Ethereum is that when you want to make a transaction on the Ethereum blockchain, it costs a lot of money, called gas fees. Mm. Now, Bitcoin has a horrible technology when it comes to transaction time. If you want to send some Bitcoin, it can take up to an hour or two, which is insane. We're living in 2021 and it takes an hour to send a Bitcoin from one wallet to another. That's insane. Now, the transaction times for Ethereum, they're not that fantastic either. They don't last like, hours like Bitcoin does, but they cost a lot of money. If you want to buy $50 of any kind of coin on the Ethereum network, it could cost anywhere from $20 to $50. So that means to buy $50, you can't even buy it, because if the gas fees are high at that time, it's going to you won't even be able to afford it. So the gas fees, nickel and dime, the people that can invest a ton of money. Now, if you want to invest $10,000, maybe it's only $300-400 for the transaction, but that's still insane. And that's why I'm going to be getting into the next two energies and the next two cryptocurrencies, which are Hex and PulseChain, which eradicate these issues that both Bitcoin and Ethereum have, and are really kind of changing the face of crypto by creating some core values. So first we'll discuss Hex cryptocurrency.
So are you saying with Ethereum, and it goes into subdasha of Jupiter, it's going to stay consistent, or do you see it coming down?
So I'm not a financial advisor, but I think that Ethereum and Bitcoin are both going down.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
I think that they're both going down. and that it's possible that, you know, they'll keep going up. Bitcoin 100,000, Ethereum 5,000. It's all possible, right? You know, but
Right.
based on my charting and my understanding of the nature of crypto, it's actually going to go back down again, because the bear market, it lasts for a while. It's not just this thing where, okay, Bitcoin hit 61,000 and then it hit 28,000 and now it's going to go up permanently. We've never seen that in cryptocurrency. What we've seen with the bear market from 2007 to 18 is it lasted months. It lasted over a year, really. So I think that 2022 is not going to be the best year for Ethereum or Bitcoin.
Okay. Thank you.
But I do think it's going to be an incredible year for Hex Crypto and PulseChain. So when we're looking at Hex Crypto, Hex is just has an absolutely incredible chart. So we're looking at it, Hex, as a Leo ascendancy, and that Leo ascendancy is really quite beautiful. It's a Purva Falguni ascendancy, which we know is a very lucrative wealth nakshatra. So it has that kind of Lakshmi energy, which I like. Part of the strongest wealth positions, as we understand it, is look at this nodal conjunction of K2. K2 conjunct Jupiter, Venus, Saturn, all in the fifth bhava, and all of those planets are in conjunction in Purvashada Nakshatra. So that Purvashada conjunction, now, you know, all of those planets in Purvashada, now Jupiter finds itself in Mula, so that's the only planet that's kind of outside of that energy. But all of that Purvashada vibration, it's extremely beneficial. This is another wealth Venus ruled nakshatra. So we have a wealth nakshatra ascendant, we have a wealth nakshatra where all these nodal conjunction is here in the fifth house. And now we have K2, which is strongly influencing all of the different areas of our chart. K2 is here in the eighth house. K2 is in the Venus, so it's in the second house, and it's also in the third house, and K2 in the sixth and the seventh house. So we're seeing almost like a total K2 dominance over the chart. So if you thought that Bitcoin had that transformative energy with K2 in the ascendant and the three planets conjunct with Rahu, then Hex is here to absolutely transform cryptocurrency as we know it. So also, when you're looking at the position, Rahu and K2 are in their Mula tricone. So one thing that we didn't see with Bitcoin and we didn't see Hex was an extremely high dignity of Rahu or K2. And now we're finding that high dignity and the Rahu in its Mula tricone. And that Rahu is in the 11th house of profits. So if it weren't for just the lifelong karmas of Hex having wealth nakshatras in the ascendant and the fifth house, and now we're seeing that that Rahu is in Mula tricone in the 11th house of profits, there's no better investment in cryptocurrency than Hex. So now, one of the beautiful things about Hex is you saw how much both Bitcoin and Ethereum have went up. Well, Hex actually has been more successful, and it's only been here in 2 years, but the amount of increase has been beyond any cryptocurrencies. So since its inception, it has been more successful than any other cryptocurrency. So we're looking at a 302x. From its original inception, Hex has gone up 302 times its original value. And it pays an average of 40% APY, which is an annual return on your investment, because it allows for staking. One of the things that we see about the 11th house is long-term investments. And whenever it comes to a long-term investment, we want to leave it. And the longer that we can kind of stay away from it, the better it will do. And that's called from delayed gratification. And so Richard Hart created Hex to make delaying gratification, which means not being impulsive when it comes to cryptocurrency, lucratively valuable. And so through Hex's website, if you go to gohex.com, you can actually stake, which means you put a certain amount of hex away for a certain amount of days, and you can get an increased amount of hex when that contract that you agreed to is up. And it delays the gratification of the wealth. It delays the fear of selling it, because unless you want to lose your investment, you really can't sell it, but it allows you to really reap rewards. And so it went up that over 300x since its inception. But if you had staked your hex early in hex, the gains could have been double, even more on top of that at this point. So let's take a little bit of look at hex. Between Bitcoin and Ethereum on the day, 3% increase in Bitcoin, 4% increase in Ethereum, and look at that, hex up 5.47%. You'll often see that when you take a look at hex. So when we're taking a look at the nomics chart here, we're looking at an initial value of hex. Now, we saw that Bitcoin opened up well over $1 and Ethereum opened up at $1. The opening price for hex is 0.0000497. That is the smallest little fraction of a cent. Is that insane? Now, that would, and you're thinking, oh, well, hex is only valued at 12 cents. It was less than a 1,000th of a cent at its inception.
Right.
So the radical increase in the value of hex, it's unfathomable. And so it actually, from its opening price, actually went down even more to well under 1,000th, a 10,000th of a cent at one point. So because, you know, that initial offering, people sold. Now, you got to feel bad actually that if you sold it in that December 16th, because at some point it just kept going up. It did go down a little bit kind of towards the end of December. If you sold it when you first got hex, and now you're looking at hex, it hit 15 cents. It actually hit 21 cents in July.
Wow.
Right. And you sold it at 1,000th a cent. And now it's at 21 cents. So it's just, you got to be patient with the process. And that's why hex is the premier cryptocurrency, because even if you want to be patient, once you have your hex locked up in a staking contract, you don't have the opportunity to, unless you want to end your stake and lose your part of your initial investment, which I think that deters some people from doing that. You know what I mean? So we see the increase in hex get steady in 2020, where it goes up into, you know, it went into a cent April 2020. It went a little bit back down in mid 2020, and then it starts to go back up. So it kind of wavered here because people were uncertain about hex. Is this now, again, still at 0.3 of a cent? If you got in it when it was less than 1,000th of a cent, then 0.3 of a cent still seems like a pretty good investment, right? So, I mean, and plus you're getting interest on it from staking it.
Exactly. It's like your pocket change. Even though you invest your pocket change that you don't, you know, somewhere, and then just leave it and forget about it, still you're going somewhere.
And that's why, listen, you can put your hex away for 10 years, 15 years.
Yeah.
And a lot of people in the hex community, they have a young child.
Yeah.
But they don't have that much money.
Right.
So they'll put $1,000 away for 15 years in hex, and that'll be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars or 15 years. And they'll have that money to give to their kid. Why? Because they could delay gratification for not touching that $1,000 to $5,000 for 15 years. Because so the founder of Hex, Richard Hart, says, and we'll take a look at the dashas, which agree with this, Hex will be well over $1 soon. And from there, $5, $10, $20. Richard Hart says $800 would be kind of a peak price for Hex.
Cool.
So if you invest in $1,000 in a staking contract for 15 years, when it's going to be $800 in 15 years, you're leaving millions and millions of dollars for the future generations of your family.
This is right.
So, it kind of went down under a cent, and then it picked back up. Now, during the bull market, we see that it kind of lingered around, and then in March 2015, it went up from a cent up to 2 cents, and then it started its severe bull run. This is when I personally got really interested in Hex, was in May of last year, when I started to see, okay, it's starting to do this really good movement. This is something that I've been looking at, and now I kind of see that it's going to be increasing even more. So it went from 1 cent to 5 cents, then it went up to 9 cents, and then it went up to 15 cents, and it says 15 cents there, but it actually went up to 21 cents. I got Hex when it was at 4 cents. It went up to 5 cents. It went back down to 4 cents. I was like, is this going to go anywhere? Then it shot up to 9 cents. I was like, oh, 9 cents. That's good. That feels great. And then it shot up from 9 cents to 21 cents. So this is the kind of financial freedom that the founder of Hex wants to impart on his people, which is, listen, the economic system as it's set up with the paper money that's out there, it doesn't allow financial freedom. It doesn't allow liberation. You go and you work at a convenience store for 40 hours a week, and your boss makes 10 times more money than you for sitting around. The CEO of the company sits behind a desk and rakes in all these infinite amounts of money while you're slaving behind a computer to make 1/100th of what he makes a day.
Right.
I don't want to get too political, but I do not like the way that our economic system is set up, and cryptocurrency, and especially in incredible investments like Hex, they allow you an opportunity for financial freedom and financial liberation to escape the day-to-day rat race that our economic system is set up with. So again, I hope you enjoyed this elaboration. Now, one other thing I just want to talk about Hex a little bit more. I pretty much talk about Hex all day. So one other thing that I wanted to say about Hex is, okay, well, it's kind of like been lingering 20 cents, 10 cents, 12 cents, 13 cents. And that's because there was this release of this next project called PulseChain. And I'll talk more about that in a little bit, because that's kind of how I want to end today's session. But one of the things that we say, well, when is Hex going to go to $1? When is Hex going to go to $2, $5, $10? And PulseChain, which is the next project I'm going to discuss, is going to help bring Hex there. But the timing of Hex's dashas is insane. So it's currently running its Mars Mahadasha, and we like Mars. It's conjunction with Mercury, and the Mercury rules that second house of wealth and that 11th house of profit. So, I mean, we like that energy. It's in a good period. And then it's going to have Hex has not gone viral. And one of the things that's going to help Hex go viral is this PulseChain, which is this Ethereum fork, because you get duplicates of Hex on PulseChain and other Ethereum tokens. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. And this Moon Antardasha, it's in Mars Sun now. It's going into Mars Moon. And that will help create some energy and attention, right? Because the moon attracts energy and attention. So it'll be coming more viral between end of August. So you're getting it pre-viral now. So if you're watching this video now, this is the best opportunity you have to invest in discount Hex before it's at a quarter, 50 cents or $1. And then it goes into its Rahu Mahadasha. How appropriate. So that Rahu Mahadasha in its Mula Trikona position in the 11th house of profits from March 2022 to March 2040. It is within this dasha that Hex will be well over $1. I think that personally, it will actually be at $1 before the Rahu Mahadasha begins. Remember, it's at 12 cents right now. It's at 12, 13 cents. It will be at $1 by March 2022. It will end its double Rahu Mahadasha, and it will go into Rahu Jupiter on December of 2024. I think it'll be well over $5 at this point. Now, I believe that the way that the hex chart is set up with the K2 stellium in the fifth house and the Rahu Mula Tricone is that it's going to overtake Ethereum and that it's going to overtake Bitcoin in terms of market cap by the end of Rahu Mahadasha. So I do believe that it hasn't even gone viral yet, but that hex will take power over Bitcoin and Ethereum during its Rahu Mahadasha, because people are going to want to stake that. People who aren't even interested in cryptocurrency and want to put their money in for interest are putting it in hex because they're getting a minimum of 15% yearly interest on whatever they put in. So even people who don't care about cryptocurrency want interest on their money and they're investing in hex. So just wait till it goes viral, because right now hex is pre-viral. But by far my favorite cryptocurrency. I hope you enjoyed that elaboration on hex.
Yeah, I did really enjoy that. So I have one question. Like, I just want to know, can anyone invest in astrologically? Can anyone invest in crypto, or there's certain people or certain combinations should avoid it?
So I think that two answers. One, I do think cryptocurrency is for everyone.
Okay.
So I do think everyone can invest a little bit of money in cryptocurrency, but
Right.
there are certain positions in natal charts where it's probably not a good idea to really invest a large amount of money in cryptocurrency because of an inclination towards certain things like debt
Right.
and gambling.
Right.
Because, and that's what's cool about hex, for example, you get to put money in and then you can't really touch it. But one of the things that the founder of hex speaks out against is called trading. And in trading in cryptocurrency is when you, like in the regular stock market, you buy low and you sell high, and you buy low and you sell high. And I don't care what you call it, it's gambling.
Right.
And gambling, as we understand it through the Vedas, is an unhealthy tamasic activity.
Mm-hmm.
And certain people who are on a spiritual evolutionary path don't want to participate in tamasic activities. So I do believe that it's not cryptocurrency's fault if you trade when you should hold and stake and be patient.
Right.
And if you lock it up in a contract like you can with hex, maybe you can prevent the gambling side of it. But some people have addictive addict quality.
Yes.
And therefore trading in cryptocurrency would not be encouraged. And then also you have to have money to invest. If you put so I would say 10 or 20% of your savings is okay to put in cryptocurrency.
Right.
But putting any more than that so that you can't pay your bills and you can't, do the things that you can't buy the clothes and eat the food that you want to live, that's not healthy either.
Right.
So I think when I look at cryptocurrency, we have to look at the quality of sattvic, rajasic, and tamasic in the chart, the purity, active, or inertia energy in one's chart. And if someone is meant to be sattvic, it doesn't mean that they can't invest in cryptocurrency. It means that they can't trade.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Makes sense. Yeah.
And if someone is tamasic, then it could start like a whole process of like negative thought patterns, which is, greed. And so you just have to be careful to balance those energies out. I do think cryptocurrency is for everyone, but there really is a right way and a wrong way to do it.
Right. Perfect. Thank you.
So the last thing that I wanted to discuss, this beautiful symbol right here with the sacred geometry, is PulseChain. So what is PulseChain? PulseChain is the next big project. What if you got in Bitcoin at day one? What if you got in Ethereum day one? What if you got in Hex day one? You'd be a millionaire today. This is another opportunity for you to do that. So PulseChain is an Ethereum fork. A fork means it's kind of based off of the Ethereum technology, but it's better. It's energy efficient, which means you can't mine for it. It's not bad for the technology. And just there's the Ethereum network and the Binance network and the Polygon network. Now we're having the PulseChain network. This is the really big network that's coming next.
Has it launched yet?
It has not launched yet.
Okay.
So this is why if you're learning about this now, you'll have an opportunity to get in on the ground floor. And the best way to get in on the ground floor now is to buy Hex. And I'll explain you a little bit about how that works. So another benefit is, as I mentioned, the gas fees. If you want to buy $50 of Ethereum, it's going to cost you $20 of Ethereum. Well, that doesn't make a lot of sense, is it? That's because the cost to transaction the fees is high. So if you want to buy Hex on the Ethereum network, you're going to have to pay a nice chunk of Ethereum. So that's why PulseChain is here, where it's going to have absolutely minimalistic fees when it comes to the transaction. It's literally going to be the tiniest little fraction of the fees that have to do with the Ethereum network. So and then it's also quicker. It's going to be 4 times faster to send coins or to transact coins on the PulseChain network. So it's basically Ethereum, but way better. And then fee burning. One of the things that's not so great about Ethereum and some of the other chains, it's inflationary. So the value goes down. 25% of the fees for every PulseChain transactions are going to be burnt, which means they're going to disappear forever. So that means it's deflationary. This is unheard of in crypto, a deflationary asset in which each transaction, instead of the fees going into someone's pocket, those fees are burned and therefore the value of the asset goes up. So basically the way that PulseChain is set up, it's going to be infinitely successful. And, you know, time will tell, but I've never believed more in any cryptocurrency project. Now, the last thing that I wanted to say is one of the beautiful things about the founder of Hex and PulseChain, Richard Hart, is he's a humanitarian. And so one of the things that you had an opportunity, so he actually wants to help other people achieve financial freedom and financial liberation. And one of the things that you've seen, if you go on his Twitter, go on his YouTube, go on his Telegram, is there's tons of people that have made millions and tens of millions of dollars that are paying for their children's education, that are paying for houses on just a small investment on Hex initially. He wants to help people achieve this financial freedom. And so one of the things he's doing with PulseChain is he's giving you a duplicate of all of your Ethereum tokens on PulseChain. So let's say that you have 1,000 Hex in your virtual wallet and 1,000 Ethereum.
Right.
Then on PulseChain, when PulseChain opens, you're going to have 1,000 Pulse Hex and 1,000 Pulse Ethereum. He's giving away millions and millions and millions away of these free Pulse tokens just by being interested and involved in this project. It's an incredible humanitarian effort. Now, initially, in order to be able to get the PulseChain tokens, the original Pulse tokens labeled PLS or Pulse, he did a sacrifice phase. That's why it says here the sacrifice phase is over. And so for 19 days, you could sacrifice Ethereum, Bitcoin, Cardano, Binance, Dogecoin, whatever coin you wanted, you could sacrifice it to Pulse. And he was going to give you between, depending on which day you did it, 5,000 and 10,000 Pulse tokens for every $1 US of value that you sacrificed.
Wow.
So this was a chance for you to get millions, 10 millions. If you did a nice investment, hundreds of millions of Pulse tokens before the launch of its. And in addition to that, this is the one thing I really like to highlight, the SENS Foundation. If you love Ayurveda, you'll love the SENS Foundation. It's a charitable organization for longevity research, because one of the things that Richard Hart believes is that what's the point of having financial freedom if you don't have the health and longevity to be able to enjoy it?
Right.
And so, and that's true with Dharmartha Kama Mokshanam. How can you achieve the Vedic four aims of life, including Artha, which crypto is all about, Artha Bhava? How can you achieve the Vedic four aims of life if you cannot have the longevity to do so? So in a weird Ayurvedic way, the Sense Foundation is this longevity research organization, which is trying to increase the length of human lives so they can be able to enjoy the beautiful life that they have. It's kind of like an American version of Ayurveda, which I think is pretty cool. And so Richard Hart is a big believer in this organization, and he set it up where you can sacrifice directly to the Sense Foundation, which means you could give your Ethereum, your Bitcoin to the Sense Foundation.
Yeah.
And he's going to give you Pulse tokens for it.
Cool.
And so they raised over $25 million for the Sense Foundation. And if you're curious how much money was sacrificed to PulseChain, if you're not sure whether there's money in it, if it's going to be good, $6 billion.
Right.
$6 billion that's been sacrificed to PulseChain. So it's the next big thing in crypto. You have an opportunity. Now, if you miss the sacrifice phase, it's not too late, because the top Pulse copy coin is going to be Pulse Hex. There's eHex, which is Ethereum Hex, and Pulse Hex. And whatever amount of eHex of Ethereum Hex you have in your wallet will get duplicated onto the Pulse chain at the relaunch of Pulse.
Right.
And you can just switch that for Pulse tokens or keep it as Pulse Hex, whatever you want. So it's not too late. Even though the coin hasn't been released, you can just buy Hex and then get Pulse Hex for it, and then convert that to Pulse at the release of PulseChain.
Cool. Thank you. Thank you so much, Kṣaṇāti. That was so much great information that you shared with us today. And thank you, everyone. I hope you guys all enjoyed and found this really informative. Thank you. Bye-bye.